And we're live with the Juju Show, episode number 15, live from Canonical HQ in London, which means I'm tired and jet lagged. But first, we have a show to do. So everyone, welcome to the 15th show. And I have a lovely panel of Juju guests to accompany me this week. So why don't we go around and do intros? Why don't we start over here with Nick. Nick, how you doing? What do you do?
I'm doing fine. I'm Nick Vita. I work on documentation, which includes Juju documentation. And I will be answering documentation type things, I guess.
We have a documentation topic this week. Who knew? Madison.
Yeah, so I'm Madison Scott Clary. I work on the Juju UI team, working with Jazz and all the stuff that runs it in the background.
So here you go, BD. We got Jazz people here that you can send cookies to if you want bribes, some of those bugs that you want.
Oh yeah, we accept bribes.
Chocolate.
I'm JC Sackett. I am also a developer on the Juju UI team, working on jujuterms.com and on the GUI.
All right, and on our remote cameras here, how are we doing, Chuck?
We're doing well. Name's Charles Butler. I work on the canonical distribution of Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. How's your guys' release time coming up, right?
We are currently in the last leg of the 1.7 freeze.
New goodness coming. All right, James, say hi.
Hey, James Beatty here, just a good old end user hanging out on the remote end.
Community member at large. All right, well, let's hop into it. Community news of the week. There were a few interesting threads on the mailing list that I wanted to highlight from the last 2 weeks since our last show. The first one is titled about Juju Deploy with a series. But what it was really about was we had an awesome person trying to build a CentOS charm, and to test it and develop it and everything, they wanted to use LexD, which is very fast, great way to test and deploy and work on your charms locally. But they had a problem in that the default, turns out the images that LexD uses don't come with Cloud Init out of the box. And so one of the great folks on Juju Core, Andrew, put in some work to provide a tool to help patch the image to add Cloud Init. And once Cloud Init is there, and if it was named properly, then Juju could leverage it as a CentOS image, and you can deploy CentOS workloads onto LexD locally. Now, obviously, that's not ideal, and we've got some work to do to smooth that out to get a Cloud Init enabled image ready to go and make sure Juju can use that and leverage it 100%. But I did want to make sure to highlight it, one, because the fixes and some of the communication came from some awesome community folks, as well as we want to make sure that you can get unblocked and allow people to move forward with building some awesome CentOS charms. Because as we all know, Juju, while we have a lot of Ubuntu-centric stuff there, it works well with CentOS or Azure, or Windows in Azure, for instance. Anyone play with any CentOS charms yet? I have it on my to-do list. I like to try it out myself. It's been a long time since I tried CentOS. All right, next up, Juju Docs Virtual Sprint #1. I wish Adam was here, but I couldn't get him in for today. But Adam pulled together a virtual documentation sprint to work on the Juju Docs, which is great because I know that there's some things in there that need a lot of love, and it's also a great way for community members to jump in and provide really useful, small, easy bits of just making the whole thing better. And so, Nick, how was that? I didn't get to attend. I was traveling out here for this sprint, so I missed it, but I won't miss the next one.
Okay. Yeah, it was good. It was useful. It was constructive. I couldn't stay for it all myself, but I was there for the first half. Basically, we were just looking at the best ways that people could contribute if they had ideas or specific areas of the docs that they wanted to contribute to. We talked about workflow and filing issues because we're very much issue driven in the docs, and about styles and where to find all the information that you would want if you were writing an addition to a page.
Do we have any of that written down somewhere so we can?
In the email thread linked in the show notes is a lovely summary Adam put together that links each and every issue that was identified, and the notes there. And some of them are we should clean this part of the docs up. So again, if you're looking to participate, a great thing, you kind of don't always think about it, but the documentation's in GitHub under the Juju org, just under Juju, github.com/juju/docs. And it's just like any other software project. It tracks issues with pull requests and updates from the community. It's open source like anything else. So definitely take a look at those issues and participate. I know Adam's looking to do these, when I talked to him a while ago, the plan was to try to do them every other week, I think. So look for them on your Friday calendars coming up. I think hopefully we'll get a little more heads up on the next one. This one was a little bit of a one-day turnaround notice kind of thing because it's our first one, get it thrown together a little bit. But it'll get better and better from here. I look forward to it. Alrighty, and the last one that I wanted to highlight is killing old dead controllers. And I think this may have come up before, but it has different contexts. Someone was playing with Juju on LexD, and they played with the LexD commands and kind of nuked their controller instances from orbit, which meant that Juju then got confused, because if you asked it about controllers, it said it had one, but if you tried to do anything, it would obviously fail because the machine that Juju was talking to you on is no longer there. So obviously the reply on the thread is just easy, there's a command for that, Juju unregister, and then the name of the controller will remove it from its knowledge, or your knowledge. And it's useful in other contexts as well. I don't know how many of you all have played with multi-user sharing of models in Juju yet. Yeah, everyone. I find it really, really awesome for testing stuff out and sharing with someone else and letting them see what it looks like, and even providing stuff to customers. I hear one might even put out a model and then hand the keys over to a customer or something. So if you ever have a shared controller and then that controller goes away, because that often happens in testing, you can remove it from your list by using the unregister command as well. So it doesn't have to be the world was nuked from orbit situation before the unregister command is a handy tool to know about. It's kind of the opposite of register. If you share with somebody, you give them a register command and it adds the controller to their knowledge, and if it goes away, then they unregister it to remove it. It's kind of the logic behind that. So make sure to keep an eye out, and if that ever bothers you, if you ever get hung up on, crap, that controller is no longer there, I'm sick of seeing or worrying about it. There you go. Cool. All righty. You guys ready for some demo time? Nothing like live demos to make the world go round. All right.
Rick, you got this.
I got it. Yeah. All right. So let me go click on this. Make everybody see my terminal. Can everyone see my terminal?
Even broadcast.
What's that?
I don't know if you could broadcast.
I did. Oh, present to everyone. That's the button I meant.
Yeah.
Woohoo! All right. I have controllers. So in this demo, what I want to talk about is, I don't know if you all noticed or not, but last week, Juju 2.2 final GA was released to the public. So that means only one thing. It's time to get your upgrade on. Get those new features, the new stability, and the new performance improvements in your own work. So for my demo, I've got a controller here. It's running Juju 2.1, and I've got another controller running Juju 2.2. So let's just list models on the Juju 2.1 controller. And you can see I've got the controller itself, I've got a Kubernetes model and a source code model, which is running GitLab, which is one of my favorite little demos these days. And let's Juju status, Juju 2.1 / let's do K8s. Oops, helps if I put the flag in for my command, doesn't it? Or it should. What did I do wrong? It's a colon. There we go. So here you can see the status of my lovely green Kubernetes model working here. And notice, particularly up here at the top, that it is running version 2.1.3 of Juju. So I'm not lying, no wool over your eyes here. Now let's list my models in my 2.2 controller. So models -c Juju 2.2. Nada. It's a default empty controller. I've got my controller model, my default model. I haven't touched it. I just bootstrapped it, and that's it. But I should do Juju status default, just to prove you all that. Look at this, version 2.2. It is in fact what I say it is. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to do this using a tool called Model Migrations. I put a blog post out about this that I'll link in the show notes around why you might want to do this, and command for command copy paste of this whole scenario here. The main thing I want to kind of highlight to folks is that what's nice about migrations is that you never put your older controller at risk, right? It stays put. You bring up a new controller of the new version of Juju, and you are able to move models from one controller to the other controller in a controlled and very safe fashion, one at a time, really reducing the amount of risk that you're exposed to during an upgrade process. And the scariest, the biggest change in any Juju release is going to be in the controller itself. It is the one point that has all the APIs, that stores all the data in the database. You know, units, models themselves don't migrate data. They don't perform or database migrations, but the controllers themselves do. So by not actually trying to upgrade the controller, but instead just move my models over, I do things in a kind of safer way. So let's go ahead and let's go see what this looks like. So I'm on my K8s model. You can see it active here, K8s. And now I can do Juju migrate model. Let's see, and I have to give the name of the controller I want it onto, which is 2.2. Let me just, sorry, jet lag. Let me just make sure I've got this. See, that's what I was afraid of. What the geez, oh Pete. Oh, that's right. See, Rick, don't make it harder than it needs to be. Migrate Juju 2-2. Oh, and it does want my model name. All right, so migrate my K8s model to my Juju 2-2 controller. And notice it started and it gave it a UUID. Now what's happening while this goes on, Juju actually takes all the data that the old controller knew about this Kubernetes model. It's freezing the model so that all the agents kind of go into quiet mode, so there's no activity allowed while a migration's in progress. It then takes that data that it knows about the model and dumps it into a common format, a very standard YAML output. It looks a lot like an overly complex bundle, to be honest, and ships it to the new controller, where the new controller then loads it into its database. The old and new controller then sanity check, hey, this is the data I see, is this the right? So we make sure that the transfer was smooth and correct. We then have all of the agents on all of the units of the model that's being moved, and sanity check that they can reach and communicate with the new controller. This means that your new controller really should be in the same cloud and region that the old one was in, right? You're not going to want to have a bunch of stuff deployed in US East and then put a new controller in US West, because the only thing moving is the controller, the database that Juju tracks and knows about. All of the software running, all of my Kubernetes, it doesn't know anything's happened or changed. It's still running, performing its workload functionality as it does every other day of the week. It's right there in the background. So let's do this. Let's check out my model list, because it should be done. And voila, there is no, where did my Kubernetes go? Let's go look and see. Oh. And this is why, don't type in tired. Oh, there we go. Kubernetes on Juju 2.2. Let's go ahead and run Juju status on that. Juju 2-2 now. K8s. And I want to note an interesting thing. So the controller is on 2.2, but if we look at our status here, oh, sorry, let me scroll down so it's less confusing. Notice something. The model itself is still on 2.1.3. We very intentionally only moved the data on the controller end. All of the agents, all of the Juju little daemons that run and track changes to state on all of the units of all of your applications are still running the old code, so that it would be completely safe to back off this migration if anything was flagged as alarming, or if the new units couldn't, the units couldn't speak to the new controller. It would all abort in a very clean fashion with no change so that you can look at what the issue was and correct it. So let's go ahead and switch over there now. Juju switch, Juju 2, K8. That's the model I want. Now from here, I can run Juju upgrade Juju. The only upgrade taking place is on this model, and all it's really doing is upgrading all the little daemons running to the new version of the daemons on the units. This is a much smaller set of change, and again, that kind of your exposure, your risk exposure is greatly minified by upgrading in this way. So it's going to start, and in a little bit, it'll actually go through and do that. So because we're just demoing, and because I'm a crazy guy, while that's running, let's go ahead and go back to our source code model. And, oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to switch to it. And from here, let's go ahead and let me reset this. Juju migrate source code to Juju 2-2. We'll kick this off. And we'll switch back to this one, and let's see how we're doing on our upgrades. And I should probably have just sent that through head or something, and voila! Our model is on 2.2. Our Kubernetes was left unperturbed. None of the addresses changed. All the VMs are peachy, hunky-dory. I have officially gotten all the new Juju goodness on my new model. What do you think?
That's pretty cool.
Everybody upgraded yet?
Working on
Brings up a good point. Come on, James, what's your question for me? I know you got one.
When are you going to? When are you guys going to go ahead and prove this works on our nice, pretty Jazz controllers?
Oh, you got me. So obviously the release went out last Friday. The operations team here is upgrading Jazz currently. What we've done is to see the least busy controllers first to walk through and start to perform the upgrades and get everything done there. There's a bit of a soak involved to make sure that everything remains smooth. I mean, we're very confident in our Juju 2.2 release because, frankly, it was really focused on operational stability. Like, we're dying to get this into production ourselves. Because, to be honest, we've had a few pain points at scale of having to manually touch things to keep them running smoothly that we don't want to. So as the soak test gets complete, we'll widen it out. I fully expect us to have these things rolled out over the next probably week to two. I'm going to say a week, but they'll probably tell me two, and then we'll meet somewhere in the middle, I bet. So look for it coming shortly. And one thing I will say, this is the kind of stuff that in the beta that we acknowledge that would be best obviously handled in the future with kind of email notifications. Now that you've got 2.2 is out, we look to do updates to get people on board, allow them to kind of opt in or out of the upgrade process in a certain time and all that. Let's see.
So what does that mean for model admins who aren't controller super users in the context of Jazz? As things stand in 2.1.3, a model owner or admins cannot upgrade the model. Has this been addressed in the 2.2 release?
Not yet. What we do have is two things. There's one, which is that basically there's the work that we could do to basically give you a button in your Jazz control pane for models to enable you to trigger the upgrade. Like, I would like it to be upgraded, and then it basically triggers off an automated system from the bot admins that run the controller, since it's shared across everyone in Jazz. So there is no true admin in that case, right? It's just a hosted bot situation. So then the bot can actually kick off the migration on your behalf. What's nice is it lets us audit and track when was it kicked off, when was it requested, make sure it's at your will, that now is a good time and all that. That brings into whether we could do scheduling and all kinds of stuff. In the beta, because it is a beta and we'll push it kind of on a more manual process. Like we'll kind of push those models up. Again, so you can see we're testing it on large, small, all kinds of workloads. We've not had any issues yet. So I fully expect the migrations to go the upgrades to go fairly smooth. We actually did this with the security release that we had. We force upgraded all the models in Jazz. Now that was a very, very minor patch because it was just one issue fix for one quick prevent kind of, get the 0 day out. So it's a little bit different, but pretty confident about it. So you'll see either a manual control or we'll address it fundamentally in Juju where you can kick it off from the CLI and such yourself. One way or the other. We haven't put the work in on either end yet. We still have both options available.
Got it. Until then, you guys are playing God.
Hey, you signed up for the beta, man. But all right, that's our show. Anyone have anything else they want to highlight for the week?
Do we want to talk about sprint stuff?
Sprint stuff. Sprint's been awesome. We're halfway through the sprint. It's Wednesday. It is a Jazz-specific sprint. So I tell you what. Tell me, James, how would you feel if SSH key management was made better in Jazz?
Oh, I've just been beaming every morning when I see those updates come across my feed. I'm really excited you guys are putting an effort into that.
You cheat too much, man. Yeah, no. One of the big targets for the sprint's been the SSH work, and Madison's done some great stuff with the team on helping to put together a better experience for that and allowing, what's the big feature? We're going to allow what now?
So the big feature is we're going to start allowing the ability to import SSH keys from existing services such as GitHub or Launchpad. When you deploy a model, you'll be able to say, hey, go grab my SSH keys from Launchpad, as well as this one that I pasted in there. And with that moving forward, those SSH keys will be in your model. Additionally, in the process of sharing model, you can specify whether or not to give the other user or have the other user's SSH keys, which would be stored in public keys stored in Jazz, access to SSH to the model. So if you're doing something like a big data model and you want to give somebody access to kick off a Hadoop search or something like that, then you can say, hey, add them to the model, and in the process, add their SSH keys to the model so that they can actually run that SSH script or that search script.
Yeah, I think the best thing is that the admin's no longer responsible for collecting the keys for the users they want to have SSH access. That the admin just controls who, and the users then will be able to deal with getting their own keys into the system and enabling access. So should be a big difference there. JC here has been plugging away on, obviously Jazz is a beta product and all beta products need some fancy A/B testing.
Yeah, you may have noticed that periodically the homepage on jujuterms.com has changed pretty drastically from where we started, and we've not up until now had the facility to actually do any kind of A/B testing on that or any of the other features, and we're going to start rolling that out. And that same facility will let us start rolling out features progressively to users rather than just sort of dropping them and hoping everything works.
So we're going to ask everyone, not just you, James, what they think about it.
That's comforting.
We can still make sure that we ask you first if you like it.
So does that also mean that SSH key management will be the user's responsibility in that case? Let's say even once they have been added to a model, then the responsibility no longer rests on the model admin to manage that user's SSH keys. Is that
the objective? Yes. The admin's decision is purely, should this person be permitted to SSH to the machines in the model? Yes or no. How that happens is between Juju and the user granted or not granted access. Does that clarify? Did we lose him?
Oh, no.
Oh, he asked this question and then we kicked him. Oh, man. Poor James.
You answered the question so awesomely that it just terminated his internet connection.
I was like, can I make it any more clear for you? I guess not. All right. And then there's another track of work going on at the sprint, mainly around the Jazz user profile page and simplifying and cleaning up and really making it easy to get in and find, alter, just making Jazz easier to use over a long term as you build up your collections of models and keys and charms and bundles and all that. So that's a bit of a long-reaching chunk of work as well, but there'll be some progress on that coming soon that we'll look forward to showing off in a Jazz update coming near you. So with that, I guess since James isn't here to tell me if he has any other questions, this is a good time to bail out now before he gets back. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good time, and we will see you back in our native countries in 2 weeks. Out.
Cheers.